Equity theory is a concept in psychology that explains how people feel about fairness in relationships, especially at work or in school. The theory says that people compare what they put into a situation, like effort, time, or skills, with what they get out of it, like pay, praise, or rewards. Then they compare this ratio to someone else's. If they feel the ratios are equal, they see the situation as fair. But if one person is getting more or less for the same amount of input, it can lead to feelings of unfairness, which may affect motivation, emotions, or behaviour. Now let's look at some examples. Imagine two students study equally hard for a test, but one gets an A and the other gets a C. The student who got the lower grade might feel upset because the outcome doesn't match the effort. In a job setting, if two workers do the same tasks but only one gets a raise, the other may feel the situation is unfair. Even in friendships, if someone always helps a friend but never gets support in return, they might feel taken for granted. In each case, the feeling of inequality can lead to frustration or changes in behaviour. Now let's look at some strengths of equity theory. One strength is that it explains real-life behaviour well. People do often compare themselves to others and care about fairness, especially in group settings. The theory helps us understand why people might become less motivated or even quit if they feel they are being treated unfairly. Another strength is that equity theory applies across many areas, such as school, work, sports, and family life. It helps show how feelings of fairness or unfairness can influence performance, satisfaction, and cooperation in both personal and professional relationships. However, equity theory is not without its weaknesses. One weakness is that it assumes everyone thinks about fairness in the same way, but people have different ideas of what fair means. Some might value money, while others care more about recognition or respect. Another weakness is that the theory doesn't explain what happens when people feel things are unfair. Some might work harder to catch up, while others might give up entirely, and the theory doesn't predict which path they'll take. A final weakness is that it doesn't fully consider emotions. People may react emotionally to unfairness in ways that go beyond logical thinking about input and output. Now let's look at some alternatives to equity theory. One alternative is expectancy theory, which focuses on how people decide to act based on what they expect will happen. It says people are motivated if they believe their effort will lead to good performance and rewards. Another alternative is goal-setting theory, which says people do better when they set clear and challenging goals. These alternatives focus more on personal goals and beliefs, while equity theory focuses on comparisons with others. Each theory gives a different view of what motivates people and why they behave the way they do.